Hey, Las Vegas, thanks for joining us back here on Realty Check. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, you guys.
Yes. So this show this week is pre-recorded. We talked about this last month, so we are leading into part 2 of our Coaching Corner episode that's talking about negative self-talk. We are not going to have numbers to report to you this week. I hope they're amazing. I'm just saying, 30 days out, I hope that this is like, wow, we didn't expect that. So
they might be exactly the same and we could have been a broken record. You don't know.
Yeah, let's put those positive vibes out there.
They'll be amazing no matter what.
Right.
That's
It'll be amazing. So unfortunately, we don't get to report those this week, but we do get to introduce our amazing guest, return guest, Sharon Swanton. This is our Coaching Corner episode. She's with Affinity Coaching Solutions, and we have a lot to talk about.
Yes, we do.
And this is actually part 2 of our series because back on October 20th, so if you didn't see that one, you can go back and watch it.
And who are you?
Oh, I am Tiana Carroll. Hi. Hi, guys.
Hi, Tiana.
And you are?
I'm Trish Williams.
Okay, so now we've got Trish and we got Sharon and we've got Tiana, and we're all back here, and we did a first part to this series, and it was about mindset, and it was talking about how important talking to yourself is and keeping control of that negative self-talk. There's benefits to negative self-talk that we talked about in the October 20th episode, but now we left off with reality and shaping your reality, which I am very excited for this part 2 because this is a component that I believe in, and I am all about your reality is something that you create, and it's your perspective. Is the glass half full? Is it half empty? And I believe that the more that you're able to see good, to be grateful for good, to make the conscious decision to be happy, that changes the chemical balance in your brain. And that's what all your emotions are, in my opinion, right? That balance ratio of having those happy endorphins going.
I love the glass half full, the glass half empty metaphor, because here's the truth. It's just a half a glass of water.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
We're the ones who decide whether it's half full or half empty.
My cup runneth over, it is half full.
Yeah, and somebody who's stuck in negative mindset will say, what are you talking about? It's half empty. What's the matter with you? Can't you see? That's what happens, all right? Truth is just a half a glass of water.
Right.
We decide. We do the same with our reality. Now here's the issue that shows up, because I agree with you. We absolutely create our own reality. But here's the problem. That makes us very powerful beings.
Oh, 100%.
And
now you're speaking my language, girl.
Well, okay, but that scares some people.
That terrifies me.
See?
Oh.
Good. I'm so glad we're all three in this room. Honestly, it is terrifying to think you have that kind of power.
Yeah.
You can create your own reality.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That terrifies me because I'm just like, I'm destructive. What am I going to do? What am I going to do with this? Like, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I could tear down mountains or buildings or destroy people.
Yeah.
You know, part of what I grew up with was that. When I was about somewhere between 11 and 13, my mother was mentally ill. My mother would have been diagnosed as bipolar today, but they didn't know what that was. So she was diagnosed as schizophrenic.
That must have been tough.
It was very, very tough, and I was a very strong kid. I have 5 younger sisters.
I have no doubt you're a very strong woman.
I was.
Could you imagine little Sharon?
No, I remember.
I would have been very afraid of little Sharon.
Actually, my sisters were afraid of me for a long time because I actually raised them. But I distinctly remember this. My mother was having a mental breakdown, and her doctors and my father decided that I was causing it. So they sent me to therapy. Because I was driving my mother crazy. It took most of the 9 years I was in therapy for me to let go of that belief.
Yeah.
I believed I could drive people crazy.
And I have that
It's a
same
gift I have as well, just so you know.
I have that same thing where I think that again, being scared or terrified of having that kind of power, that I could destroy other things, other people, or when something bad happens to someone close to me, I somehow turn it into my fault.
Okay, which is what we do as kids. What? As kids, that's what we do.
Sorry,
something happens around us, and when you grow up in a destructive environment, then what happens is the people around you, my father, people around you do make it your fault. And so then it fits right in with this egotistical, egocentric is better, view of our world, which is that we are all powerful and we can do things. You know, one of my favorite people on the planet are 3-year-old boys, because they're not very articulate. They understand everything you're saying to them. They don't know they're little. They think they're big and strong. And they go through life like little trucks. And so what will they do? They just motor through. You have a boy? Yeah, they just motor through life. They don't have any idea they can't do things. So it comes as a big surprise when they can't. All right, and that's the start of it. So if you're growing up in an environment that's giving you lots of messages, you don't know what you're talking about. Just stop doing that. Look what you did to your mother. Look what you did to your brother. These are the messages we get. Look what you did. So you believe it. Why wouldn't you believe it? Because at that age, everything is about you and about what's going on. And so you buy right into those stories.
Yeah.
Now you had a very different thing. So what did you?
different.
Okay, what did you believe though? You believed something very positive. So what did you believe?
Oh yeah, I believed that I could take on the world.
You could do anything.
Oh, absolutely. From the time I remember, I had my parents who were amazing. Shout out, Mom and Dad, what's up? So they were awesome. Always, they wanted to make sure that we were happy. So if we went to dance class and we decided we didn't like dance, dance was no longer an option. Let's do what makes you happy. They were always supportive that we could do anything, that every person is its own special gem and they just need to bring their beauty to the world, good, bad, or indifferent.
I seen that. So again, as we said on the last show, your sister was my best friend since
Still is.
we're still my best friend.
Not
since
was, still.
Is. And
I'm a
so-
little bit jealous how much she talks to you versus me. Cha-cha.
Love her. So what I always admired about her, even as kids, and it's an indicator of the way that you guys were raised, is she, no matter what, fearless. People could tell her, no, you couldn't do it. And she'd be like, yeah, right.
Exactly.
Like, she was always, there was nothing. I mean, the girl changed the brakes on my car when we were like 20. My car
I
needed
don't even
brakes.
know if you were that old.
Yeah, maybe I was like 19.
Yeah.
But she changed the brakes on my car with a book from the library while a room full of guys that we were, my cousin and his friends were laughing. Like,
Taunting
this
her.
is hysterical. And she was like, you said I can't do it. I'm doing it.
Okay, yeah.
So-
And she is, just for the record, the most amazing, incredible person on the planet because she is strong-willed, she has confidence, she is capable beyond belief. She's amazing.
Yeah, she's very amazing.
So
but
what-
that's an indicator of how you were raised and the positivity.
Right. Yeah, she made much better choices than I did because she didn't have those hard lessons that she had to learn in that. I mean, she definitely had her own lessons she had
we
to
had
learn,
hard
right?
lessons.
Right.
We made bad choices.
But
don't worry.
she was she's very aware of what's good for her and what's not good for her. And I blindly went into a relationship not knowing that it was going to be bad for me.
Right.
And then it did some destructive things that
So,
I had to
so you
build.
grew up with no tools for protecting yourself.
No.
What I'm going to identify it as the evil forces that are there. And I'm not sure I really believe in good and evil in the biblical sense, although I'm maybe coming around in my old age. I'm not sure yet. But I
She's
do
like
believe but I do believe there are positive and negative influences. I totally believe that. When you grow up with nothing but positive around you, you don't know anything about negative.
Right.
So when it shows up, you don't recognize it. You don't know that it's not good and it's going to be bad for you because the signs are always there when you look back.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There was times in my life that even at a pretty young age, I remember 8 being taken advantage of, at 12 being taken advantage of, at 16 being taken advantage of. And then I was quite young when I met my outside force that sort of tore me down. And that I had no idea the dangers that could be there.
So what I believe is part of our life's journey, part of our purpose here, is to deal with these issues, and we all have different things to learn. What you needed to learn was not about how to be good and positive. You needed to learn how to protect yourself from the negative forces that you didn't know anything about.
Right.
You had the opposite.
Oh, yeah.
You
So
knew all about the negative forces.
I'm skeptical of everybody. I mean, even now, I get a phone call and it's like, a random person, and I'm going through 21 questions, vetting them because I'm always on the defense.
Right.
That's
Right.
just who I am.
Right.
because
Well,
of,
it's not really who you are. It's who
Or-
you learned to be.
Yes.
And you learned to be that way because that was the only way you could protect yourself from an overwhelming array of negative influences. So you have learned how to manage through that. And notice how opposite you guys are. It's really fascinating to me that you're doing this show together. It really
I
is.
think it's fascinating because you have the yin and yang ring on.
I do,
And
I
I
do.
always think of us as like
Yes,
a yin and
you
yang.
are like that.
yeah, that's
you
why we
are.
do good together.
Yeah,
you are
no.
very much like that.
We
I
definitely
agree.
complement each other.
So managing it, the first thing you have to be able to do is recognize that it's going on. So that's where we left off. We left off with what people tell me every time that I'm dealing with, almost every time, maybe there's an exception, but is pretty much this. Well, Sharon, I'm just being realistic. I go, oh, okay, you're just being realistic. Well, tell me a little bit more about that, because here's what I hear being realistic as. Being realistic is telling you all the reasons why what you're thinking isn't good, won't work, you shouldn't think it, and you're being presumptuous if you do think it.
Right.
So that's what I hear being realistic is all about. Because, and I had a friend one time, this is years ago when I was selling real estate, probably been in the business probably about 8 years, because I was really being successful. It was probably the peak of my success as a salesperson, right? I had a good friend who was a top producer. She was top in the county. She was the best. And we're sitting on an open house, or we're at something one day, and we were talking about goals. And what we were being told at the time was be realistic. Set goals that you can achieve so that you use your goals to succeed by and not to fail by. Anybody ever heard that?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great. Here's what she said. She said, well, I always set my goals really, really high because what if I almost make it? And I went, wow,
That's amazing.
isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
I mean, wow, what if I almost make it? She didn't care if she didn't make it. What she saw was that she'd more likely go higher if she shot for the moon than if she tried to be realistic.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a euphemism like that, shoot for the moon, because you'll still end up with the stars.
Yeah.
Oh, I've never heard that. I like that.
Yeah.
I do that. I find myself doing that where I'm too scared of the possibility of failure.
Yes.
That I'll shoot lower
Right.
than what I am, and then when
Right.
I go higher, I'm just like, wow, that's amazing. I could have done better.
Listen to you. Listen to you. Yeah.
But I'm just too scared of dealing with the disappointment of failing if I set the number too high where I don't get it, because I'm hard on myself.
Yeah.
See, and all of my failures have always been my best lessons, so I'm grateful for them. Like, I'm not afraid to try things because either I'm going to succeed at it and woohoo, or I'm going to learn a valuable lesson that's going to build me up even higher than my apparent ego is. Woohoo, look at me.
No, it's great.
Okay, but that's also part of why you hung in there and dealt with a really negative situation for so long, because you were continually learning lessons so you could justify staying there, and it got scarier and scarier to get out.
It did, and yeah, there was a time where I thought, man, this is it. I'm going to be here forever because there is no light at the end of the tunnel.
Yep.
How am I going to get out?
Or if there is a light, it's a train. It's
right, I'm going to be pummeled over by this train.
Right.
Yeah.
And so many people are there.
Yeah.
So many. I
Yeah.
mean, in that situation where they just don't, they don't believe there's a way out. So that's.
Well,
I mean, that's huge
I'm here
in
to tell
itself.
you there is always a way out. If
There
you
is.
have a will, there's a way.
That's true.
And you have to find a way to love yourself and respect yourself enough to lift yourself up and move forward. Because
And you
nobody
ne-
can do it for you.
and you
People
need-
in my life tried.
Yeah, but you do need allies. So when you get ready to start dealing with these issues, you do need allies. You need people around you that you can turn to when you falter, because when you're
And you
going
will
through,
falter.
you will falter. That's exactly
Absolutely.
right. That's
But you're
exactly
absolutely right. I was lucky enough to have a support system throughout this entire ordeal. There were friends, there were family who were trying to shed light on it and say, Tiana, do you not see what's happening here?
Right.
You need to change this. You need to
Right.
do this. And then in the beginning, it was making excuses because I'd been torn down and I didn't realize that, I had been torn down. Then it was start to recognize those. And I was lucky enough to have support systems. And if you don't have systems, because there's a lot of people out there that I talk to, a lot of women in particular, that don't have those resources to get out. And there's so many that they need, but they are available in the community.
Absolutely.
And they should definitely track
So you
those
should
down.
get all of those women together for lunch and have me come in and talk to them, because they can support each other. The reality is you don't need a guru. You don't need to have a coach. It's nice if you do, but you don't need to have that. What you need is just a little bit of a roadmap and a flashlight.
Yeah.
That's really all you need, and you can provide that for each other. You can do that without it being this difficult thing, because managing this, now look at the market we're headed into. I was in real estate in 1980. Interest rates went to 18% for mortgages, 21.6% was the prime rate. That was the prime rate. 21.6.
Can you imagine what somebody would do if you told them they had a 21.6% rate?
No, we're at 7%. They're acting like the sky is
Exactly.
falling, and I'm like, whoa, we had 7% in this past 15
Okay.
years. What are you worried about?
But given all the factors that are aligning, we are likely to be in this for a while. I can see it for sure till about February. After that, it gets harder for me to see. But it usually, because trends in the marketplace take time. They take time to build going up. And when they go down sort of like a freight train. In fact, that's been the shocking part this time.
Right.
Wow, it was so quick.
Yeah.
There was really no real warning, and just all of a sudden we were in it. Well, the problem with going downhill is first you got to stop the train. You got to slow it down, and then you got to start going back the other way. So it's going to take a couple of years, in my opinion. Even if we did everything right and all miracles occurred, I still think it's going to take a couple of years. So we're going to have to deal with this idea of what being realistic means. Because maybe being realistic means not buying into what's realistic and shooting for the moon anyway.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So how can you figure out? Now, in your case, Trish, you probably need to realign your, what's the word I want here? I'm going to use the word vision.
Okay.
For what it is you want to accomplish in your life. Because what you do in the beginning of coming into this business is because you don't know, and I've been asked so many times, I remember specifically I was on a training and it was about heights, and I had a real fear of heights. And so the trainer said, "Are you going to do this, Sharon?" And I said, "I don't know." And he said, "Oh, come on." He really wanted me to say, "Oh, yes, of course." Well, I couldn't say that because I didn't know. I said, "I'm going to do the very best I can," because that was all I could commit to. So in the beginning, when you're starting something new and you're not sure, if you don't have Tiana's mindset to help you, you just do the best you can, right?
No.
But you get to a certain point where you have to accept your success.
Yeah.
You have to say, okay, yeah, I'm here. Now, the question is, do you really need to stay there forever?
No.
Okay,
No.
well then, not staying there forever would look like what?
Growth. I mean, you either go up or down. So.
Well, no, that's what I'm
You
challenging.
go lateral, right?
That's
you
right.
You stay at the same level, but you sort of change the importance. Like, I know right now you're looking for more family time and keeping, especially now that the kids are older, getting everybody together.
Yeah, keeping us together, and those family gatherings are like the highlight of my life right now. Like that's really what's important.
Then you need to let go of the idea that you've got to be number one, number two, or whatever, top 5 in your office, because you need to be number 1 in your family.
Yeah.
But that requires a change, and you're going to have to talk to yourself. Because have you made enough money so that you're secure financially?
That's the thing. In addition to that, it's doing that and keeping the family together. But part of that is, building a legacy for the family.
Okay.
And that's important as well too. I mean, I'm
Agreed.
not going to work forever. I still got some good years of me.
No kidding.
I think you're
Hello?
more than a few, but
I got a couple.
Yeah, right.
I could still do this for a little bit longer. But I feel like I should make the best of that so that I can have that, that time when it is time to just let it all go. Or not let it all go. I do feel like I'm working on creating something that will always be there, even when I'm not. That's really one of my big goals. If I'm not Trish and the Trish Williams team, I want Trish Williams team to still be a there.
Okay.
And-
So you're going to have to create a vision for that, and you're going to have to put certain pieces in place in order for that to happen.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to focus on the team's production, not on your personal production.
Yeah, and that's a struggle. That's a struggle. That
Okay,
could be a
so-
whole other.
I'm like, is that
could
an
be another
episode
show.
all in itself?
Yeah, but so the struggle is real, and you're at cross purposes when you want your family to be the focus of your attention, and it is the focus of your attention because it justifies being focused on production. Then now where do you begin? How do you begin to manage it? What percentage of your time and energy and emotion goes where and with who?
I have a solution. So you should talk to every person in my family and get them all to do real estate so we can just do it all together. That would solve all my problems.
Do you know how many clients I have who say to me, Sharon, will you just talk to my client, or will you just talk to my husband, or will you just talk to my, it happens all the time. Okay, you can do that.
That I've tried.
She's always trying to recruit them.
Okay, why don't they want to come into real estate?
I think they see how hard I work.
Oh, really?
Well, that it's not, that it's not easy. That it's consistent. It's
What are
nonstop.
they doing?
It's-
What are they doing that is easy?
I don't know.
Well, have you ever asked them?
No.
Okay, so there is no success. I don't care what it is. You're an artist. You're a musician. You're a writer. You're a teacher. You're a parent. You're a stay-at-home mom. I don't care what you're doing. If you're going to be successful at it, it's going to be hard work. Mm-hmm. You have to put energy and effort into producing a result of any kind. So it doesn't matter what they're doing. They're working hard at it.
Yeah.
They just don't want to be you.
And then the negativity, I'm scared of getting them all involved in something that won't work out.
Oh, really?
As if it's not a top producing real estate team. I think it's going to work out.
Well, no, she can think that. That's fine, but notice what you think. Okay, so here's a conversation you need to have with yourself. I am very good at what I do, and I'm absolutely capable of teaching other people how to do it too. You need to say that to yourself every morning. Because the Trish Williams
Look at her, she
team,
cleared her throat. She's like, oh, I don't know if I could do that. You can do that, girl. You can do it, Trish. I'll text you in the morning. Well, in the mid-morning, because you're up way earlier than I am.
It'll be my afternoon.
Yeah, it'll be your lunch affirmation. Did you tell yourself how great you are yet?
so you absolutely have got to start seeing yourself as a team leader, and not the kind of team that you had in the past. That didn't work out so well for you. Mm-hmm. But
What do you mean? That was a great lesson. That worked out perfect.
Well, I agree with you.
Exactly.
I totally agree with you about that. That's absolutely true. But you don't want to recreate that.
Right.
no,
you
because
want
she
something
learned the
different.
lesson. She's not going to repeat it.
Yeah, well, sometimes we do.
I'm talking specific to this lovely
Got it.
lady.
Okay, so you need a new vision for what it would be and how it would be that you could have a team that would not work like you, would work a different way. Mm-hmm. And then getting your family involved, getting other people involved, it becomes a lot different than the way it's typically done.
Yeah.
And it would mean something you could start practicing now, which is letting go of some of your time and using it to do the family activities that are so important to you right now. Because your kids are only going to be this age for a while.
Yeah.
And they're only going to be in your sphere closely, unless you talk them into real estate, closely for a
Working
while,
hard.
because they're going to have their own families and their own. And if you want the family to remain the center of that, which you probably do, then you've got to start creating some things that will allow you to be the center and allow them to be a part of that, whether it's in real estate or just in the family,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But
No,
you can do that.
absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
You can do
Yeah.
that. Yeah, you can do that. So, managing this little voice is a matter of talking back out loud. Out loud. So, what would you have to say to yourself? The conversation we just had, what would you have to say to yourself if you were going to argue with the idea that it's difficult, hard, or impossible to put together the team that you would like to live beyond you?
Shut up.
That's
Short and
actually
sweet.
that's
Short
actually
and
a
sweet.
start.
Just stop.
That's actually a start.
Yeah.
I say stop. I don't know if we have time. I had an experience with my oldest foster daughter. She ran away from home, 16. And in this town, that was terrifying.
Yeah.
And she was away for a few months. her friends finally started telling me where she was, and so, but in the middle of that, I'm driving to work. I lived in Northwest, and my office was down on Rainbow and Edna or someplace like that. And so I'm driving on Buffalo, and all these thoughts are going through my head of all the horrible things that could happen to a 16-year-old girl. It was very pretty. In Las Vegas. And I pulled up to this stop sign and I went, stop. And then I said, she's fine. She's living with friends in Henderson and she's okay. So stop. I didn't see her till Christmas. So that was probably in August or September that I had that stop conversation with myself. She showed up on Christmas Eve, which I knew she was going to do. Don't ask me how I knew, but I did. And guess where she was living?
Henderson with her friends.
That's right. She
Yeah.
was living in a house in Henderson with her friends. Now, I had no way of knowing that. The point was I did exactly what you said. Stop. And then I replaced it with a different picture.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't keep that picture in my head without, going crazy.
Yeah.
I would just have gone, I'd have been patrolling the strip every night looking for her.
Yeah.
And as it was, I was down on Fremont Street, and it was craziness. And I had to stop it. And it was all going on in here. None of it was external.
I've been in those. I get in that all the time where I just, go down sometimes my kid won't call me back right away when I call him or something. And, he just started driving like the last year and a half.
That's
so
scary.
I just go through with all these horrible things and then I'm just like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Right.
Like, get that. Stop.
Okay, when you do stop, you've got to replace it with something, though.
Yes.
So when you do stop, you got to go, nope, he's driving the speed limit calmly on his way to pick a place.
And that is where I was missing. I did not.
You have to do that part.
That will be.
You have to replace it. You can't just stop because things love a vacuum. Your brain loves a vacuum. It'll just put new things in there.
Yeah.
So you need to say, no, everything's fine. He's driving down Rainbow Boulevard. He's following the speed limit. He's stopping in plenty of time. He's not in any danger of doing anything. Everything is perfect. He's driving really well.
So that sounds exactly like you're creating your own reality.
You are.
Well, that's the interesting thing is that I guess what I've learned through this, with this first show and the second show, is that it's originally I said I'm terrified of the thought of having that much power where you can create your own reality.
Yes.
But you can also use that same power for good.
She says tentatively.
We don't have to do it for evil. It can be for good too.
We can do a little for evil because life's about balance. But most of the time, let's just be good.
So here's the thing about being that powerful, because it is a rather, it's an ostentatious, it's really big view to believe that you're creating your own reality. But here's the truth, whether you believe it or not, you are.
Yeah.
That's the truth. You are creating your own reality, whether you believe it or not. And to the extent that you understand and embrace it,
Right.
then it gives you power to create what you want rather than what you get.
Right.
And what you get is a byproduct of all the things that have happened to you and all the stuff people have told you and it's very random in its nature rather than being directed. And you can direct it. You can direct the outcome.
I've had an exercise that I've had to do several times now through a coaching class, Bold. When you go to Bold, they have you do this exercise. It's like meditation, and you do this and you just playing along, right? Just playing along.
Right,
like, okay, I'm meditating. Yeah. I'll write the story that you tell me to write, but you write the story about things that you want, that you have. You're just playing along. But I never really intended or thought that it would work. But the amazing thing about it, which I'm always like, that's coincidence. Amazing thing about it is they mail that letter to you in a year every time. So you write yourself this letter and it's this imaginary outcome that you create of what you want. They mail you, they stamp that letter and they're good at it. They'll mail it to you in a year.
They are good at it.
And then in a year you get the letter in your mail and you open it up and you're like, all that happened.
Right.
Yeah.
I must have been thinking small back then or something. I don't know. It's just like, wow, that happened.
That's the power of vision. That's the power of vision.
Exactly.
That's what that is.
Because for that letter, that exercise, that is such a great tool, and anybody can do it, right? Grab a letter, write it to yourself, put it in an envelope, put it in a drawer, and just the act of writing it somehow connects like your subconscious to your conscious, and you will start making all of those action steps to happen throughout the year, and it looks very small, and then when you turn around and look at the past year, you're like, wow, I did all of that. I wasn't expecting it, but here it is.
And you can do the same thing by having a clear vision, saying it every day. You can do, it can happen quicker than a year, but looking back is how you see what you've accomplished. There's no question about that. But yeah, that's the power of vision.
Wow.
That's the power of vision, is that if you see where you're going, what happens is your unconscious mind gets on board and it starts helping you. And when you work with vision, when you start noticing resistance, what you know is that's your unconscious mind not wanting you to do it, so it's getting in your way. But if you say your vision every day, just very much like your affirmations, if you say your vision every day, what starts to happen is you make little tiny decisions. It's like, you know how an airplane stays on course? What pilots will tell you is it's off course most of the time. What happens is the autopilot corrects the course. You actually go through the sky like this. You don't go in a straight line. You go a little bit to this direction, correct. Go a little bit to this side, correct.
That's everything. That's our market. That's our mindset.
That's everything. Everything. You're off course most of the time.
Yeah.
The fact that you get there is only because you're able to correct and get back on course long enough so that you eventually get there.
Right.
Right?
That's huge. Yeah.
Yeah, the astronauts will tell you that's how they got to Mars. You know, I have a friend and he was talking to somebody and he said, how often are you off course? And the guy said, no, the question is how often are we on course?
Right.
Because they were off course most of the time. So are we. But we don't understand that it's normal to get off course. We just need to make a little adjustment. We get all nervous and upset and scared if we even notice it.
Yeah.
If we even notice it. That's the power of saying it every day, that this is where I want to go. So we could create a vision for you around your family and how you would like that to be in a year or 5 years.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
that's,
you let your unconscious mind take over.
let it happen.
Let's
make it happen.
Don't get in the way.
Sharon, we had 2 parts of this episode. We could take 5, so but we will continue because you are coming back, and we look forward to having you back every time.
Okay.
And
We
if
do.
you guys are off course on your diet plan right now, or like whatever it is that you're working on, it's Thanksgiving, so I know you probably like hit off course. Don't be too hard on yourself. We're making it will be okay. And if you need help in your life, in your business, in anything, call Sharon. She's as you see, just an amazing coach, amazing guide through things. So please give her a call.
How do they
talk
get a
to
hold
her.
of you, Sharon?
That first call, by the way, is no obligation, no pressure, and no cost. So you just call me and we'll talk about whether or not what I do actually could be of any service, any value to you. Reach me at 702-289-1537.
All right.
All right.
And you can reach me, 702-308-2878, if you want to talk about real estate. And
You can always
Tiana?
call or text me, 702-379-9948.
All right, and we will see you guys next week on Realty Check. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy
Happy
Thanksgiving, you
Thanksgiving.
guys. Have a great weekend.
Bye.